mostly me.
Okay.
Gaze at this beautiful face. All right, I'm here at New York Comic Con 2018 with Will Dennis, editor extraordinaire. So what are you editing right now? Just to give people an idea, what are the books you're working on right now?
I'm working on all Jeff Lemire's Image books, so that'd be like Gideon Falls, and we just wrapped up Royal City, and I'm working on the Witches Halloween special that with Jock and Scott. Dead Rabbit, the Jerry Duggan, John McCrae book that just came out yesterday, I guess it was. Yeah, and just, freelance stuff like that, a lot of other stuff. Doing some stuff with Comixology, like their originals program. Yeah, so it's kind of all over the map.
I think when it comes to editing, people have one of two ideas. You're either with a red pen circling, I before E errors, sure, or you are keeping track of complicated continuity in comics. Right. But what you're doing is not really either of those things. So what do you consider your primary role as editor on a book like Gideon Falls?
Yeah, a book like that, Jeff's stuff is really tight, right? And Andreas Sorrentino, sends the pages in every week, hey guys, here's 5 pages, and it's he's a dream, they're an editor's dream, But yeah, there's not a lot of that red pen proofreading kind of stuff going on. Yeah, mostly you're sort of facilitating, all the different all the different people, keeping track of the schedule, and there's that trafficking element. But also, you're the first reader of stuff, right? So depending on who it is, they want a lot of feedback or they don't want a lot of feedback, but that's probably the biggest thing, right, is that you're kind of the first reader of stuff. So that's a lot of responsibility for some people, and I don't care who they are or how famous or whatever, they all still, there's this hitting send on that script to me or anybody else. This is scary, right?
Yeah.
It's just, and they want it, did you get it? Did you read it? What do you think? That kind of stuff. There's, So it's kind of managing that aspect of it too,
Where do you draw a line between, because you're the first reader, and so something in the issue may not work for you, but it might be exactly what the creator intended. So where do you draw the line between editor and reader and how much you exert your opinion in those situations? Yeah,
that's a good question. You got to pick your battles, right? So a lot of the time, generally you're, even when I worked at DC, it was there was this kind of advocate role for the talent, so it wasn't really my job to sort of push back in terms of, oh, well, we can't do this, or this is terrible, don't do that. It was kind of, I will make suggestions hey, this struck me as, this line or this scene, or maybe, do you want an extra page here or whatever? Recently, Lemire had sent in a 2-issue thing, and he was sort of what do you think? Does this feel like enough? And I read it, and they were cool, but I was you know what? This is a really cool idea. It's for the 3rd arc of Gideon Falls, and I was why is it only 2 issues? Why? We have the freedom to do what we want, so why don't we just, flesh it out a little bit more, So it's that. It's probably my biggest. I don't want to say it's superpower, but my biggest thing over the years, I think, has been that managing the talent and picking my battles, and not, there's some editors that feel if they're not asking for changes, then they're not doing their job, and it's I've never subscribed to that notion, so.
It seems like modern comics making in 2018 is so international and so spread out. The creators are in different countries, may not speak the same language. Sure. So oftentimes do you find yourself connecting, not connecting people in a way of putting a book together, but do you find yourself as the middle person between the writer and the artist, maybe because they're on different schedules and different viewpoints? Do you find yourself as the middleman a lot?
Yeah, you're not the middleman in terms of middle management, where I'm having to talk to this person in one way and talk to this person another thing. One of the big things I've always tried to do is foster a team environment, because I feel they're much less willing to let each other down than they are to let me down or let the company down. That that sort of hammer them about, oh, this script is due or these pages are due. If that's coming from Mount Olympus, it doesn't always register. But if it's coming from their co-creator or their thing, so it's you kind of want every book's essentially you're in a little lifeboat, right? So it's you want to sort of foster that sense of we're all kind of rowing in the right direction, and if you don't get that script in, then the artist can't get his stuff in, and he doesn't get paid, and the letter, it kind of rolls downhill, right? So it's like, then you're jamming up the colorist, and particularly colorists, I mean, such a huge part of the industry now, and so much stuff that it's like, they can't just bang it out in like a weekend like maybe they used to, or whatever. But so yeah, that's a huge part of it. It's just sort of managing those aspects. But it's like if you get everybody, it's like a foxhole mentality, another sort of bad metaphor. But it's like if you talk to, whether they're like Roman legionnaires or Marines or whatever, it's like they're there for like the person next to them, right? I mean, it's not the the flag, it's not the general, it's not the president. It's like you don't want to let the guy next to you down, and they don't want to let you down, And it's like that's the environment that I've always tried to sort of foster. And then I can pull back, and I don't have to work that hard, right? I mean, if Brian Azrael and Eduardo Riso, like, I'd be an idiot if I was in there, do this, change that, tweak the, like I can go back to sleep if I want to, I mean, metaphorically speaking.
What would you say is the biggest misconception about what you do?
I mean, probably your first question, that you're somehow just like a trafficker or a proofreader or a copy editor. I mean, that's one. Yeah, I mean, that's probably the biggest one when you tell people. I mean, the other one is that I think that, like, also that you're somehow, you're just there. You're like the principal, or you're like the angry parent or whatever, And I'm sure some editors are, but I never felt like I'd get very far with that. Like, I wouldn't respond to that, so I feel like I don't know why they would, respond to that.
I wonder if there are a lot of editors who have a big ego and who do want to insert themselves into the work. Have you noticed that? I'm not looking for names or anything, but have you seen that around?
I'll give you names if you want. But yeah, for sure. I mean, there's definitely some people that are like that. There's people who feel like they need to, I mean, like when I remember taking over like Why the Last Man with Vaughn and P. Aguirre, and saying, the first thing I said to them was like, I'm not here to like get my fingerprints all over this. Like, this book is going great. People love it. You know what you're doing. I'm here to help, advocate, traffic, whatever. But like the dumbest thing for me to do on issue 15 would have jump in there and be like, this needs to read, it needs to be a Will Dennis joint, Right, yeah. I mean, I said it for you. It's like, you can take my name off the book if you want. I don't care, because it's like the people who know, and the rest of them, I don't personally think that my name sells books, right? Like, I think there's people who are like, oh, I love this stuff, or your body of work. I don't think the dude standing in the comic shop who might spend $3.99 on a comic sees my name and it's like, well, I wasn't going to spend $4, but now I'm going to, So, I mean, I don't know.
I mean, not to blow smoke up your ass, but I do think that you have a reputation as somebody who has a good eye for talent and who shepherds talent well. So I know when I'm looking at a book and I see your name on it, I don't know if that's the reason I bought it, but it certainly gives me more hope for the book.
Well, that's good to hear. Yeah, I mean, I would like to think that, at least it's a little bit of a good housekeeping seal of approval or something, where it may not be the reason you're buying, but if you're, I mean, I'm a comic book reader, fan for like my whole life. Like, I understand, like, I have $20 to allocate to comics this week, and I'm in the shop, and I have 4 books and I'm at my limit, and so it might be those like on the margins where you see something, you're like, this guy hasn't steered me wrong too many times, so that's good to hear.
As a freelancer, what are you looking for in a project? Like, when someone brings a book to you, what are the things you want to work on right now?
It's mostly just working with the people, right? It's not, I mean, I like to do things that are, it's kind of interesting if things come that are a little outside of your maybe what you've done in the past. Like, I think I got a little pegged with, oh, he's like the crime guy, or he's this kind of guy, like for a long time at Vertigo. So if there's things like, that are horror, or there are other things, or if it's like a YA thing, or it's just a fun kind of book, like, I'm doing this book, Adventure Van, which is like Golden Apple is printing, and it's, it's like a small press thing, and it's not, you wouldn't think it's anything, but it's fun. It's like a kind of a Scooby-Doo sort of Bill and Ted sort of thing, but it doesn't smell at all like anything I've ever worked on, but it's nice at this point in my career to do stuff that's a little bit, but that's just because the writer, like, I know the writer, and he's like, oh, you want to help us on this? I'm like, yeah, that sounds fun, so yeah, I don't have to, it's really the people at this point,
Do you feel like that hampers you from finding new talent, or are you comfortable just being, working with the people you've worked with over the course of your career?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I probably, if there's one big shortcoming, is probably that, right? I tend to, you gravitate to the people and I mean, I think I did a good job over the years of expanding the pool and trying to bring in new people and bring in, different voices and stuff. But yeah, you do tend to kind of fall back on, who you know, or they're the people that they call you and that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, probably being freelance, the hardest part is not having the capacity to like necessarily break new talent.
Right.
Like that was a big part of my job at Vertigo. I felt like was I'd go to shows or travel or talk about internationally, like working with guys in Argentina or women in Italy or England, Spain, wherever it was. You find talent. But you had books that you could say, oh, we need to fill in on this, or we're doing a showcase on that, or we're doing an anthology. So you could book those things.
Right.
When you're freelance, it's not. Generally the projects come to you, not fully formed necessarily,
More
but
formed.
Yeah, because the talent tends to put the teams together, particularly at places like Image and stuff. Like I'm not going to Eric and saying like, oh, I want to do a spy book, and we need to find a writer and art.
Right.
I mean, they come to me and they're sort of already put together. So. But I miss that. I definitely miss that, finding like those new people, and so. But working with Comixology, they're doing a lot of cool stuff with So I've already found a couple of people at Thought Bubble that I met, like through portfolio reviews and stuff, where I'm selling the Chip Mosier at Comic. I'm like, you got we should definitely try to see what you can get on or at least send it to some people, and maybe it sparks something.